Morning Show.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
The following episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Freedom Construction, Ringside MD, Clear Air Solutions, CDN Technologies, and 5 Hour Energy. If you'd like to talk to Humble and Fred, call 1-833-437-8465. That's 1-833-HF-STINK. And now from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show, here are Humble and Fred.
Yeah, here we are. This is where we are. Where are you? 1-833-437-8465. Those aren't just a bunch of numbers. That's the Stink Line. How do people connect with Humble and Fred, Phil? Stink Line. Stink Line 2019. Big show today. Sherp's got a snowball.
Yeah, quite excited. We gave him that advice last week, and he went out and... Well, he didn't go out. He online ordered it, and he's ready to go today. That big, ballsy voice will sound even better today.
It's going to be intimidating.
Yes, it will.
You were making a bunch of noise there before the program started about Ed the Sock. You were telling me back and forth, this and that. Perhaps Ed the Sock will be with us in the last half hour of this program.
We don't know for sure.
No.
And then apparently it's a call. I said, yeah, Ed the Sock, or... Are you allowed to say it's the... Are we allowed to reveal the whistleblower?
What? That's a funny question. Are we allowed to say Ed the Sock's real name? Is that a...
This Steve Kersner?
Steve Kersner?
No, I don't know on Facebook, social media, whether it's... I haven't looked in a long time. Whether it's Steve Kersner or Ed the Sock who's turned super political.
It's at the Sock.
Is it? He's become a major anti-con, and anything conservative is just filth. So,
hey, man.
like really over the top.
Hey, man.
Over the top nonsense, actually.
Got to have a shtick.
I would border it on childish,
Well,
actually.
Again,
I'm just saying my piece.
Maybe that's his bit.
That's his... Well, you know what? If that's his bit, he's really bitten it good.
Well, good.
He is a sock.
Well, somebody's noticed.
If that's his bit, he's biting it.
He's biting it. But maybe he's developed a following. Maybe that's what he's decided to do.
Everybody's just trying to make their
Everyone's
way.
just trying to make their way in the world, Fred.
Listen, look what it does in the United States for, guys that go hysterical one side to the other. They build huge careers.
Yeah.
In Canada, I'm not so sure that's possible, but...
What, building a huge career? Yeah, we've tried. It's been 30 years.
No off extreme side of politics. I'm just not sure that's...
Yeah, they've tried that. That whole wacky Ezra Levant Sun TV group. That whole thing.
Called? What's it called again?
Sun News Network.
Sun News Network.
Yeah.
Not now.
Oh, not now? Now
No.
you mean, what is it? Rebel Media? Rebel News?
Media.
something
Rebel
like that.
Media.
Yeah.
And I know it exists. I've never chosen to be entertained by them. Which just goes to show you we're all living in our own worlds that we create.
I think that's popular maybe in Western Canada.
But wherever it's popular, the point is it's not popular with me since I've never seen it.
Right.
I'm aware of it.
I've never seen it per se either. I've seen clips.
But you are aware of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, Rebel. Yeah.
Rebel Media.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, although I must say, it made a lot more noise a couple of years ago than it has recently.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, it kind of came on the heels of the Sun News Network Fox experiment up here, and I don't think it quite caught on. Kind of to what you're saying. It's not really a country of extremes.
Yeah, we don't have those sensibilities. We just don't. Like people get they get uncomfortable up here, I think.
Yeah.
When it goes
Gets all shrieky.
one side or the other.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you. I think Ed's been beating this drum for a while.
Oh, good for him.
He's on my feed somewhere on a Twitter account, I think, on my Humble Howard. But I see what he posts. I don't really get too involved with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what all this to say.
We don't even know if he's going to
We
be
don't
on
even
the
know if
show.
it's called.
And if he does, I don't know what he's going to say.
We don't know.
His boy won, Trudeau won, so he should be happy.
Over the years, I've had a up and down relationship with the guy. Spent a lot of time on Saturday nights in the mid-'90s co-hosting a television show called Ed's Night Party. And Fred will tell you, I used to come back on Monday mornings, he'd say, "How was the show?" And I just kind of roll my eyes a bit because it was just tough for me. I used to describe I'd spend Monday through Friday with somebody who made me laugh endlessly and delighted me to no end. Of course, I'm speaking of Dan Duran. And then,
Yes.
no, it was just a weird dichotomy because I'd work with you and you make me laugh and we would laugh at the same things. And then Saturday I'd go to City TV and for a few hours I'd have to pretend that I thought endless dick jokes were funny. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them were. But it was just a bit of it was a different sensibility than we had. Mm-hmm. And so I remember, it was great. The novelty was great. The first year was great because it was produced by the folks at Insight Productions, huge production company. It was great to get to know them, and they're very professional. And Kersner's very good at that particular job. The sock thing.
Sure.
It just wasn't my thing.
The thing is about the political. In Canada, we have different broadcasting standards than they do in the United States.
Yeah.
We have this equal time thing that can be pursued by the other side if they so wish. So in the United States, if you're extreme one way or the other, you can get a lot of work, on being invited onto shows to give your opinion and go crazy. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody standing there, oh, he said that for 5 minutes, now I get to say this. We sort of have those standards here. And any broadcasting, like the CTV News Network's going to phone Ed the Sock to come on and go crazy?
Maybe. I don't know.
Against Andrew Scheer. I don't personally. I don't see it.
Although that would be great.
Yeah.
Andrew Scheer. I can't even do his voice anymore. It's been so long.
I'm at the Sock.
So
now with his views on the pipeline, here's Ed the Sock.
Put a sock in it.
There's this human being behind the desk.
Right.
Lisa LaFlamme looks down and goes, "What am I doing?"
And now here's Elmo. Elmo and
We
Ed the
go
Sock.
now to Ed the Sock.
Ed the Sock with his opinion on. Hey, anyway, he may or may not be on the show. So there was there were a few years there where we didn't really communicate.
Right.
Steve Kersner and I, but I think everything's fine now. I mean, after this diatribe.
Well, he's been in.
Yeah.
This show.
He's been
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
I was thinking about somebody that we haven't seen since we've been in this studio, and I was I thought I was going to ask you about them, but now I've forgotten. Because sometimes I get this studio with our second last studio, the good one over there, right? The big one.
Yes.
I get it mixed up. Yeah, but it just occurred to me I was thinking about a guest, and I thought, wow, I don't think they've ever been to this studio. But they were somebody that we used to have on quite frequently.
I wonder who that is.
Are you prepared to talk about the contention?
Yes. What?
Contention in the Patterson household?
Oh, geez.
Should we get to that later?
Really? No, anytime.
Well, we've got a few minutes before the great Dan Duran drops in.
Howard's taking this and running with it.
Well, why not?
No.
I mean, here you are. I can see your eyes are a bit red. What?
Oh. What did you say? Oh, I thought it sounded like a swear word to me.
I was going to say you're forlorn.
Oh, okay.
I'm against Lauren, but you're forlorn.
No, I said I had another debate last night. Me and my wife had, I'm not going to say heated, but
why were your eyes red this morning? From tears,
please.
Crying, screaming?
No.
Oh, I can imagine.
Again, this subject that has gripped the nation, the Don Cherry controversy. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm so against political correctness and all the nonsense that comes with it, but I found myself over the past week sort of disagreeing with people that don't think he should have been fired. Mm-hmm. And I'm just surprised. I would think traditionally it would be me going, no, they shouldn't have fired the guy. You should have given him a break. Mm-hmm. And the people that I thought would think there was nothing wrong with him being fired because of what he said are defending him. And it's a very interesting situation. And I'm trying to get my head around where it's coming from. And as we said earlier this morning when we were talking before the show, doing our preparation, a lot of it is, it's got to do with his age. Mm. And how did we put it? Age sympathy or whatever.
No, you said age affection.
Age affection. No, and I was just surprised, and I was saying, because, and he has sort of whittled it down to the corner of, I just said everybody should have a poppy. Well, he said more than that. And a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon. That all he said was everybody should wear a poppy, and everybody should wear a poppy. Yes, but anyway, I'm just surprised.
So last night you get into a dust up with the missus.
No, I just told you. I said we had a debate.
Yeah, but what you said to me, you said heated debate.
May have been. Not heated.
And I said...
I didn't say heated.
When we were doing our preparation, I said I had a heated debate with my wife last night, and that's when I said, did you guys get into a big fight? Did you sleep on the couch? Do you want to stay here? Are you moving in?
No.
That's when I got into that rap. Mm-hmm. I said, you can stay here. Hey, it's okay. Couples fight.
It's just,
should I get you my lawyer?
It just seems odd to me that so many people are defending that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was younger, maybe somebody else. You take what he said and apply it, take it away from Don Cherry and apply it to something else, and it would be not right.
It wouldn't be as murky.
If you took another ethnic group and accused them of a particular thing, you couldn't do that. And I know he did it. It was a general. He didn't take one specific group.
No, but I understand what you're saying. He gets. I think a lot of people, myself included, have an age affection for the guy. After the first break, at around 7:30, I'm going to tell you a story. It was so bizarre to me. I had to call Fred last night, Phil.
Really?
It was not that it was upsetting. It was just so remarkable.
Incensed?
No, just an incident that happened in my home last night, Phil. It was so remarkable. I had to call Fred, and we'll tell you what that was.
And it's not a freedom of speech issue at all,
No.
on any level.
But what I was going to say, there's an affection for Don Cherry. I had a great talk with Jeff Lumbee yesterday, who is, one of my dear friends, also very good friends with Ron McLean. Very good friends. And it was upsetting. I won't tell you some of the things that Jeff, shared with me, but, it's upsetting for all of those people. And a lot of the friends of Ron are disappointed in Ron. People that, I think there's a part of the country that feels like Delise feels, some feel like we feel, but there's also a lot of the country that is really angry at Ron McLean, which sort of surprises me, but I kind of get it.
Okay, help me with that one.
Well, because...
So what did he say? What did Lumbee say yesterday that would make... Yeah, because I'm at a loss. I don't know what Ron did.
Yeah, and I had this discussion with Edmonton Steve last night, because we were talking about the fact that both of us, you and I, have both said, what was Ron supposed to do? But it's not the broadcast. The original broadcast where Ron sort of let it happen, the last 30 seconds. I said to Jeff, and I said to Stephen, if that had come earlier in the broadcast, Ron would have maybe had more time to process it. But what's upsetting a few people, Lumbee, Steve thinks McLean, he thinks McLean's Saturday night explanation on his own was ridiculous.
This past Saturday night?
The past Saturday night.
Yeah, I thought it was awkward.
I agreed. It's awkward, but again, it's got some people very angry. The thing I understand is that people seem angry that Ron didn't stick up more for Don. I think Don feels that. And we're going to play you a little bit of Cherry's podcast as well coming up.
Just before we move on to Dan Duran, which I'm sure we are, I'm disappointed in Fred Patterson as well. Because as I stand back, I'm wondering, the morning after that broke, or the Monday morning when we came in a week ago, did I side against Cherry from heart or head, or did I get sucked into I said that because I thought that's what I should say? You know what I mean? Because now, a week and a half later, I'm really second guessing myself. I'm thinking, should I have sat here and said, no, don't fire the guy? We all know what he meant. It came out wrong. Don't fire the guy. But I was one of the people that said right away, I don't see how he can come back on next Saturday night after saying that. And I'm just at war with myself. Now, did I say that because I'm getting sucked into this world of say what you think you're supposed to say as opposed to say what you really feel? I'm somewhere in there, and it's weird.
Well, I hate to see you at war with yourself.
No, and then, as I said, sitting with my wife, who I would assume would not take the position she had, and my son have, and I'm thinking, wow, maybe I missed the boat on this one. I don't know.
Well, you think you missed the boat because You don't have it. I'm lost
No,
now.
I'm just wondering. I was so quick to say, "Oh, he can't come back on Saturday." It was horrible what he said. Did I say that because I really feel that way, or because I thought that's what I should say?
Well, you remember when I came in on?
I don't know.
When we came in on Monday, I said to you, I've kind of been thinking about the guy, and I have a bit of a soft spot for it.
You're right.
And because I was, aligned with you in terms of, he can't come back from this, and don't pretend that he didn't mean immigrants.
Right.
But, in the light of all the, having a chance to rethink this man and what he meant to us and what he meant to the country, what he means to people, maybe we were all a little bit quick to turf him. But, excuse me. Dan, are you there? Dan.
Yes.
God dang it, Dan.
What are you yelling at?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought this is the same show as yesterday.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, dude. Hang on, we're gonna take a call, but we'd like to move on from the Don Cherry thing. But everybody, outside of your bubble, it's still the thing that everyone's talking about.
Dan, do you know who Don Cherry is?
I know who Don Cherry is.
Okay.
Have you heard about hockey, Dan? It's a thing.
I've heard about hockey. I know who Don Cherry is.
All right, don't get pissy with us, okay? Don't get pissy with me. I remember you working for TSN, calling me on the way to a golf event, asking me to give you some info.
I did, yes.
Hey, hi, who's on the phone?
It's Greg Cluster.
Hey.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, man,
good.
what's
How
going
are you?
on?
Oh, not much. Just saying, you're the podcast I always end up getting to. So I love the show, love the content. But the Don Cherry thing, you guys have nailed it. Like, you've totally nailed it. And that night scroller or whatever interview you had the other day, just nailed it right on the head. You guys totally have a great perspective on it. So it's, a little bit of an overreact, it was a little ranty, but he wasn't being malicious, right? So, it was a little extreme, but you guys have nailed the perspective I think most Canadians have on it. So great job and great content.
Well, thank you, Greg. We deserve those comments, and we will take them. Listen, if I don't know how long your commute is, Greg, but if you can listen just after. Pardon me, sir.
Forever.
Okay, well then you're good. Then I'll tell you what. We're going to play you some of the Cherry podcast, and I'm going to tell you about this phone call I got last night.
I'm excited to hear that.
It was just incredible. All right, man. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
We're nailing it. Do you understand what that means?
No, very nice.
Dan, did you hear that? We're nailing it.
I know your guys are you're constantly nailed it since 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's, it's that whole thing, the emotion that you just described. That a few days later, you felt sorry for the guy. It's like anything else when you maybe have a heated debate, an argument, and then you step back a bit and go, you're a little remorseful.
I think our reaction right after it happened, now again, whether you're at war with yourself, I understand what you meant. Like, you kind of think, well, did I think that because that's what I'm supposed to think? And did we say those things because we thought, well, that's what the majority will think?
Right.
But I can tell you from the weekend, and I don't agree with my brother and Lumbee. I don't think that the Ron thing was so bad. It was awkward, but I looked at it like, I was also, I'm going to say it, I admired the fact that for 4 minutes and 45 seconds, he could have that conversation into the camera, a little bit disjointed, but still, I thought it was impressive. Dan, did you see it? Do you know what we're talking about?
You're talking about Ron McLean's comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not see it. But
It's
you know
all
what? The only thing I think the whole Don Cherry thing is that he had a chance to kind of come back and say something and clarify himself a little bit. And he refused to do that. So I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, after we're done here, Dan, we're going to play you the first 2 or 3 minutes. We'll check in with Don's podcast where he addresses that. But first, guys, what's the point of having a benchmark feature if we don't do it, if we don't stay true to it?
What does the weather mean when Don Cherry is hanging on the vine?
Oh, it's raining.
On the grapevine. Now, do we want to do a little warm-up? Dan Duran. Dan Duran. I know, we can just do this. I'll go Dan Duran, and we go around the game. Here we go.
Right.
Dan Duran.
Dan Duran.
Dan Duran.
You're going to tap
Hang on,
it.
here we go. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran.
Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran.
Dan Duran weather, Dan Duran weather, Dan Duran.
That's a beautiful one.
You know, Dan, I don't think you understand.
That's what she said.
Oh my God! Come on now.
That's
Come
what
on
she
now,
said.
Mocha. Don't do that.
Mocha.
I know.
Okay.
Oh no! I by the way, I don't. I'm just joking, Roz and Mocha. I don't imagine that those. You wouldn't even do that joke. Good job.
Oh, that's what she said joke.
Yeah, that's what Roz said. Dan Duran, you have no idea the depths that this song. How many emails sent? I got one right here, Dan. Almost every email now says, "Love the segment. Dan is so laid back. I find myself singing the Dan Duran song throughout the day. Loving the show." That's from Dana Shooter.
Shankadina.
Thank you, Dan. What's that, Dan?
I said it stays with you.
Oh, it does.
Wonder when I'm going to get my first invoice from Dan.
Yeah, the Dan Duran song stays with you like a session with Dan Duran.
Dan Duran.
Fred,
invoice.
I believe I deserve triple scale.
That's right. I don't want to talk to Howard because he'll get mad at me.
Okay, Daddy.
Okay.
What's going on?
There's blobs of fog still around this morning.
Fog blobs. Fog blobs.
Blog, blog,
Yeah.
blogs.
Hashtag fog blogs.
I love that. Yeah, we're gonna get that. It's there's fog advisories in effect for not Toronto proper, but all around Toronto, all the way up to Muskoka and that area, into the Peterborough, Kawartha area, and the Halton Peelwell area as well this morning. And that's going to all clear off. It's going to get much warmer than it was in the last little while. We're going to see probably somewhere in 6 and 7 degrees today. That'll last into the weekend. Saturday, a bit of a question. Different models are saying it's going to be cooler, like about 1 degree. Mostly sunny on Saturday, though. And then other models are saying like 4 or 5 degrees. And then after that, it's going to sort of hover around 4 to 5 to 6 degrees into next week. So a sunny Saturday, Fred, to sort of pull you out of the November problem that you have.
What was his November problem?
Yeah, what was that?
Well, he's got this thing with November. Well, you do too.
It was Howard.
Yeah, it was me, Dan.
That was Howard's bit.
Yeah. Do you remember that bit?
Oh.
Remember we were sitting in the kitchen and I was just talking about how I hated November?
Yeah.
That's all.
No, I know.
Yeah, I'm the one with the curly hair.
Yes,
Listen, I'll hate it too.
Yeah, Fred hates it too. But Dan, I'm the one with the curly hair, and Fred's the guy at the trailer next to you.
I've had long conversations with you both about how much you dislike November.
Yeah, but he didn't give it a nickname.
Although I'll tell you, that will be nice on Saturday to have some sun, because you need it every so often.
Well, it's been pleasant though. Like we had a great day Sunday here in Toronto. Dan, I don't know what
Yes.
Peterborough was, and yesterday it was nice enough to take the dog out and hit golf balls in my park, and it was beautiful.
Great.
And a lot of snow is going to be melting the next few days, so
Most
it'll be
of this-
kind of back that sort of that you can see where the leaves are. You can pull the leaves out. Do the last spat at things before winter really hits, whenever that's going.
All right, I will do that. Thank you, Dan.
Are you inside the Starbucks this morning?
No, I'm not. I'm in my lovely home. So
okay.
it's
All right.
Yeah.
Dan, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow is Wednesday, right?
No, tomorrow is Thursday. Today is Wednesday.
Oh yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow evening. Yes. Totally forgot.
All right.
Yeah.
So you up to speed now?
I'm. Yeah, midweek always screws me up.
Thank you, Dan. Good to
Thank
hear
you, Dan.
from you. Hopefully we'll see you
Dan.
soon.
Dan Duran, weather.
I'll see you in May, Dan.
Okay.
All right, buddy. All right, we'll take a quick break. It's Humble and Fred Radio as we try and get everyone on board, get everyone on side. Phil.
Yep, that's true.
Retirement Sherpa's coming up. Also, we're going to play a little bit of Cherry's podcast. And as I said, had a really strange phone call last night. So remarkable, I had to call Fred. Said, "Hey, Fred, guess what just happened?" We'll come back. It's Humble and Fred Radio.
and ran far away from all the trouble I had caused with my 2 hands. Alone we traveled on with nothing but a shadow. We fled far away. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride until the mountains sound. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride. Some hit scars and some hit scratches. It made me wonder about their path. And as I looked around, I began to notice that we were nothing like the rest. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride until the mountains sound. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride. We sleep until the sun goes down. We sleep until the sun goes down. We sleep until the sun goes down. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride until the mountains sound. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride until the mountains sound. Hold your horses now until the sun goes down. Through the woods we ride. We sleep until the sun goes down. We sleep until the sun goes
Can we be there? Oh, just think of the time. Art and love so strange. Said you never know. While I try my best, hey, to cover our eyes. It's a common way to blame and hide the truth. I know that some will say matters a little, babe. Oh, but come on and mean it to me. I need it so bad.
And I know she'll be the death of me. At least we'll both be numb. And she'll always get the best of me. The worst is yet to come. But at least we'll both be beautiful and stay forever young. This I know. This I know. She told me don't worry about it. She told me don't
It's Humble and Fred Radio.
no more.
What a pleasure to be with you. Great to hear from you. Anytime you want to call us, 1-833-437-8465. Listen, man, the first, usually it's a late October, early November that's, literally bums me out. And but now that the weather has, once we get past that first inevitable November dumping, I start to right my own ship.
What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. I was talking about this with my buddy Lumbee. I don't know what suffering from depression is, and I don't mean to make light of it, but it definitely depresses me this time. That time of the year, late October, early November. I've lived here 30 years, and it's like clockwork. It's the end of the summer, and I just get, and November in Ontario is different than November in Saskatchewan.
There's something in us that truly believes that this is the year summer's going to stick around.
Well, it's like I have that joke. I have that joke that Canadians are unified in the hope that maybe this will be the year winter passes us by.
Yeah,
like it just says, "Oh, don't worry about that, Canada. We'll just skip it."
Yes, that's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
But I was talking to Jeff about that. I said, it wasn't like, I don't know, whatever they call that, seasonal affective disorder, but it's a combination of the fact, and he agreed. We grew up in an area of the country where it gets cold earlier, but it's almost always sunny.
This is why everybody in Halifax is always in a bad mood.
Is that right? Well, it makes sense.
Well, I've heard people, too, Easterners that move to Vancouver. It's like they can't handle it.
I heard that, too.
Well, it's funny because I moved from Saskatchewan to Vancouver, and because I guess it was, I was young and I was so excited being away from home. The first year. The second year, I remember this, it one, like March, it rained 27 of the 30 days or 31 days. And I was doing a shift, and I would be dark and rainy. You'd go to work, and then you go home, it was dark and rainy. Like, it's a lot to take. But the upside is when it stops raining in March or February, the grass is green.
Yeah.
I often think, sometimes when I think about like the Big Bang Theory and whatever, what if the Earth just had been on a little bit different tilt? What if it had ended up just a little different tilt so that our winters weren't that severe? Say we had weather, I'm not being greedy, maybe like the Carolinas or something.
No, you're not being greedy at all.
The winter is just, it's cooler, but can be pleasant. Anyway.
But the Carolinas can have ice storms and things like that. So it's a different hazard.
Yes,
it's true. There's hazards. We don't have tornadoes, so there's that.
And we don't
Hurricanes.
have, exactly. We don't have hurricanes, tornadoes, rednecks.
The odd tornado's not going to hurt you.
Let's talk about gigs, guy. Speaking of travel plans, if you're thinking like a lot of people, Canadians, how do we get out of this hellhole?
That's right. If you're preparing to go to warmer climes, the Gig Sky eSIM now available on the new Google Pixel 4 devices, as well as the Pixel 3 and 3A. The same regional and world plans available on the eSIM-enabled iPhones. They're available on the new Google eSIM phones. All you need to do is download the latest version of the Gig Sky app onto your phone, create an account, purchase a data plan, and yes, you're good to go with the service. All right, stay tuned for the Gig Sky winter travel specials coming soon.
There we go. We're gonna get to the yes, the mic was off. Now it's back on. Everyone, calm down. When are you going to
tomorrow night?
Ooh,
you're going to Bahrain?
Bahrain.
I want to talk to you about that
Okay.
after this
I need
next
some
segment.
Gig Sky.
Yeah, Gig Sky it up, man.
Because Bahrain doesn't have any agreement with
anyone.
With anyone.
Yeah. So, okay, everyone heard Don Cherry dropped a hot podcast yesterday.
Sounds dirty.
Don Cherry's, it's called the Don Cherry's Grapevine Podcast. That's what it says here on Spotify. It's not yet available on iTunes.
Okay.
It's been produced by Tim Cherry, co-hosted by Tim Cherry, Don's son, as well as Del, Don's grandson.
That's nice.
Yeah, very sweet. And here's a little bit of, what you can expect. There's a couple minutes. I think it's around here he addresses, the Saturday night thing.
Said something, and everybody knows what I said. And I offered to explain. And I guess, not an apology, but I was going to smooth it over. And they made conditions that made it impossible for to do it. I just couldn't do it. And I guess I bit the belt, and that's, you bite the bullet. I don't know what else to say. I said what I said. I still say, and I still say, everybody in Canada should wear a poppy.
All right, so that's kind of the flavor of it, and he addresses it, and the rest of it is him talking about hockey and tells a story about Maurice Richard. You know, the guy's got a lot of years of hockey perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the most interesting part of that is what did Rogers want him to do? Because I don't know how he explains himself out of that, to be honest. So what did they want him to do? It was probably, Don, don't sit there and try and explain yourself out of that because it'll sound silly, probably. Why don't you just apologize? But he's stuck on the fact that, and there's no doubt everybody should wear a poppy, but more than that was said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, this he doesn't. I had sort of expected more of that, but he doesn't really get too much more into it after this opening part of it.
And I think that's what everybody was hoping for when they downloaded that podcast yesterday, for it to be a little more juicy. But again, part of my debate last night, to get back to talking with my wife, I mean, she's furious that this Jess Allen wasn't fired. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's double standard. If you can go on national television and say white people and bullies,
yeah,
should there not be some?
Like, where is the thing? Or the prime minister gets reelected. That drove her crazy too. It's like, why pick on this old guy all of a sudden?
You look like you want to say something.
No, I have so many thoughts in my brain. No, that was prior to. Yeah, I mean, so. I'm still confused about the fight with your wife. So she's upset about all of this?
It was a huge, drag down. It was a super fight.
You said fight.
I said fight. He's staying here tonight.
I did not.
I said heated. I just put all.
Oh, was that you?
Oh, yeah, I made the whole thing up.
I was, okay.
Yeah, I just totally, added on.
We were just
gets a bit fuzzy on Ossington.
No, I know.
We were just talking about the cherry thing, and I continuously find myself taking the position that traditionally I didn't think I would, and people I'm debating it with have taken a position I didn't think they would.
Right, isn't that
That's
interesting?
Yes, through this Don Cherry
What
thing.
a divide.
This country. This country.
You know, we're sad for him at the same time, and you know, an 85-year-old on air, it was going to happen. If it wasn't this, folks, it was going to happen.
So before we get to the Sherpa, I want to pay this thing off. So yesterday, was it yesterday morning we called, or was it the day before? Because this,
I think it was on the Monday.
So Monday morning, who gave us his number?
Should we say?
Yeah, that's fine.
Schwarmington.
Okay. So we got Don Cherry's number, and I called and left a voice message identifying myself as myself.
Okay.
Now, you know, you probably have heard, you know, I've had some dealings with the Cherry family over the years. I've done some stuff for Tim, his son, and Don has been on the Humble and Fred show.
Sure.
But Monday morning, I left a message. What were you going to say? I thought you were having a little snort over there.
No.
Well, it's okay.
So many misunderstandings today.
Yeah, not mad at you. No, I thought you were about to say something.
It was a heated debate.
So last night, phone rings around 7:30. It says private number.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I said I don't normally answer private numbers, but if I do, I'm going to have a little stink on.
Yeah.
So I answer, I go, hello, and I hear this voice say, Howard? Or may I speak to Howard? I go, oh, it's Howard? I go, maybe. I do. And I'm not saying it, not shitty, well, sorry, not terrible, but a little bit of edge on it. I go, maybe.
Didn't sound like there was a call center in the back.
And then he says, it's Don Cherry calling. And I'm like, oh, my God. And we had a nice chat. I said, I said, I immediately go into I called him Mr. Cherry.
Oh, I love it.
I said, nice to hear you from you, Mr. Cherry. Thanks for calling back. And he said, I just want to let you know I was calling back. I got your message, and right now it's kind of busy. I said, I can imagine it is.
Yeah.
And we go on and have this conversation. He just wanted to say, like, got my message, and he'll come on when things die down, and et cetera. And I said, well, listen, congratulations on your podcast. I don't know if you know this, but I said Jeff Lumby and I did some work for Tim years ago. And as soon as I said Jeff's name, he goes, oh, Jeff, the guy that does the impressions. I said, yes, that guy. I said I was with him today, and we were talking about the thing we did for Rock'em Sock'em. Because I could tell, and I said this to Fred, he was just wanted to call and acknowledge that he'd gotten the call and he was moving on. I think he was calling a bunch of people back.
That's
it's in the
lovely.
evening. Very nice.
Very lovely to do that. It's such an insane time.
But I
for
kind
him.
of hooked him with the Tim and Jeff and I connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a little longer conversation, long enough for me to say, listen, we'd love to have you guys do your podcast in our studio.
Mm-hmm.
We have it all set up here. I said, it's a little closer to the city. You can have guests come in, etc. He said, well, that sounds interesting. And then Don Cherry gave me his son's phone number.
Mm-hmm.
But why I was thrilled, I called Fred right away. I said, you never believe it. Cherry just calls us back, right? Because I said to Fred, I said, it's just so Canadian that in the middle of all of this stuff going on, that man still thinks or still feels like he should call people back. And that made me soften my affection for him even more, you know?
I think everyone who's worked with him has said what a wonderful man he is. Mm-hmm. And people who haven't worked with him, I mean, we all have an affection for him on some level in Canada. That's why it's so hard.
But love him or hate him, you have to admire that. I do. I was quite not only thrilled by it, but it just sort of made me realize, this is quite the place we've got here in Canada.
It's nice,
it really is.
Well, yeah.
It made me, and I'm weird, I'm not going to sound too overdone here, but it made me proud to be, I know it's weird, I was proud to be a Canadian, that guy, in the middle of this controversy, felt like he should call me back, call us back. It was just...
No, I mean, there are so many emotions, and to pick up on that emotion, it's pretty cool in this politically correct world we live in when so many are so ready to jump on so many others that the tide has sort of turned here. The compassion that's being shown for this man through that, because believe me, if it wasn't Don Cherry, it was some guy in his 50s with a bit of a rough edge and said that on television, there would have been no retraction. There would have been no retraction of feelings. It would have been, he can't say that, he should be off the air, that's all there is to it.
Right.
But somehow through this, Canadians have been able to sort of be compassionate and understand and cut the guy some slack, even though Rogers ultimately didn't.
Like, my opinion of what happened really didn't change. It stayed the same from week to week, but my affection, my remembering, I came in on Monday and I said that to you, and you said, one of the first things I said to Fred was, I feel a little bit weird about it because I totally think that he was wrong. But I also think, that he's Don Cherry and that he meant a lot. And I've been remembering, the things that he meant to us. As I said on the show Monday, I used to make fun of the military, but part of, the whole country did, but Don Cherry made it okay to, you know what I'm trying to say?
We do. I mean, we all have beloved elders who have said some things that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
And you just sort of laugh it off,
and
shrug it off.
Yeah, and then so the conversation becomes, what, do you just leave it because you know that they're 85? But yes, but then you don't put them on the air.
But what Fred was saying, I think finally we're seeing it through a prism of what I was sort of struggling to say, that we remember all he's done.
And that's what we
want.
he's
meant to us.
That's what you have been saying the whole time.
And I said to Lumby yesterday, and Jeff agreed, it's just been nice for him to go out.
Yeah. On
a different note than this. It was time for him to go, perhaps, but it was just kind of crappy how it ended.
And I don't know if drawing those comparisons is completely fair, but why not? Because within the same week, two things happened. One person was fired, the other wasn't fired.
And she's not 85.
No.
And she's not. And here's another significant part to this. Don Cherry, spur of the moment, said it live on Coach's Corner, national television. She had time to think about what she was saying.
Very true.
She got to ramp up. She got to formulate thoughts and take a position. She got to second guess herself or maybe not say it. She chose to say it.
And usually that, I mean, I don't know what the social prep looks like, but generally speaking, they have a prep discussion. I know they do on The View. They sit around that. Everybody knows what stance they're going to take, and maybe not exactly the wording, but
one quick thing before we get to the Sherpa. So Edmonton Steve, who most of the listeners know is my brother and was a longtime television producer for CBC, and now he's been working for Just for Laughs. But he produces television. He made an interesting point. So that show, that Cherry Coach's Corner, got recorded and then shown 2 other times.
Yeah.
So how come Nobody else at Rogers got fired because there were many, many, many people on that crew at every level that saw that coach's corner, and they still ran it 2 more times.
Yeah, but you're as they're running it, it's still running. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a staggered intermission. So it might be 5 minutes into it, and then on the next one it starts again.
No, I know, but
know what I
they
mean?
knew it was. They had time.
I guess.
You're saying for West Coast.
No,
Because Steve said that. He said somebody else.
It doesn't work that way. Guys, it doesn't work that way.
Oh, it doesn't?
No,
Okay.
No. The West Coast game doesn't have Coach's Corner on it. Later at night.
Okay.
Okay? What I'm saying, there's 3 Eastern games. Toronto game intermission comes first. He starts talking.
Right.
If 2 minutes later the next game ends, then they run the tape from there.
Okay.
So it's really squished together.
2 minutes is not time enough.
Yeah, so
to have
that's why. Maybe that because
conversation.
he and I were both kind of shaking our heads because we're like, well, wait a second. I've been in those crew. I've been in that booth or whatever. I know that enough people would have gone, ooh, we should maybe cut that part out. But my explanation to Steve was, maybe no one knew at the time the kind of, reaction it was going to get.
It's not the first thing he's ever said that,
He said you people 1 billion times.
Yeah.
Let's say hi. Let's make sure that Tim Niblett, are you there, sir?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Well, listen to that. Who's got himself a new microphone?
And some baffles, too.
Really?
I saw, if you go on Facebook, if you follow Tim like we do, he's got himself a little Sherpa studio.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah, man. It's cool.
Fantastic.
Good for you, Sherps.
Palm tree and all. I'm going to have to move to the real office when we find a desk for it, but we're looking good.
All right, man. Let's get this started. Hey, did you hear that Don Cherry called back?
I did. If he's smart, he'll do his podcast there. And little known fact, my beloved wife, Lorna, her grandparents used to billet him on Francois Street in Windsor when he played junior hockey down there.
Wow. That's crazy, man. There's a lot of Canadians that have a special connection to Don Cherry. And I know it sounded weird when I say it made me proud to be a Canadian, but it just was it was surreal. As soon as I hung up the phone, I called Fred. I was like, dude, Don Cherry just called back. It was just weird. And I kept him on the phone for a while, too. But, there's something so Canadian about that, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's definitely one of a kind. There's no doubt about it, right? And far beyond the Canadian borders, lots of people know him and love him as well.
Yeah, that's true. It made news in the United States. No doubt about that. Obviously in the hockey circles, but again, he was actually on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. So,
well, Freddie, I wanted to ask Tim. I haven't asked Charlie, who lives in Brooklyn, but I wanted to ask you, Tim. You've been down during this. I mean, are people talking about it, or just Canadian people talking about it?
If I think about who I've had the discussions with, most Canadians, of course, but some pals who are like Bruins fans and all that, they would definitely be aware of it. Probably more people talking about Colin Kaepernick down here than Don Cherry, but a little bit of both.
Yeah, the Kaepernick stories just bring me up today. He finally got a start. He finally got someone's going to play him.
No, he went through.
No, he hasn't played for 3 years. The NFL arranged a kind of tryout, workout, whatever thing for him this weekend. At the last minute, he and his agents realized he had to sign a contract that would really waive all his previous rights for any wrongs against him by the NFL. So he canceled it, moved it somewhere else where he was in control, which caused even more problems all over again. But I don't think he'll be getting a job anytime soon. Too much of any team's fan base is going to be against him playing for them.
Yeah, as sad as that is. I mean, for exercising that right. But I guess nobody's going to touch him with a 10-foot pole right now.
A couple of my buds... Sorry, Fred. A couple of my buds I was hanging with yesterday afternoon. By hanging with, I mean at the bar. But they're both veterans, right? Both veterans of Vietnam. A lot of the guys I'm pals with because of their ages are. And, they were really vehement against that. They had followed the right's lead and choosing that he disrespected the military in doing it. And, one won't even wear a single Nike product as a result.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? We're here for such a short time, folks. Let's just relax.
Yeah, but someone that's been in combat, I mean, they're of a completely different mindset. You know what I mean? What they've been through.
No, I understand that, but to say I'm not going to wear. Okay, let's not get into
No, I know.
Let's talk about today. Tim Niblett, as you know, is our friend, a portfolio manager, and Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. Today, we'll be talking about something called IPPs. IPPs are
individual pension plans, not something that would apply to many of the listeners, but for those it matters to, it's a great thing. Business owners, primarily some top executives, you can get as much as 70% more RRSP room by using an IPP, given what your age dynamics are and what your income levels are.
70% more?
Well, yeah, go back. I'm not sure what you just said. 70% more what?
RRSP rooms. So, we always have to watch the balance for most of us normal folk, RRSP versus TFSA and so on for income. But, if you're making north of 100 and the further north of that you're making, it's tied in with age too, because it's a pension. But yeah, you can make, I think in your 65th year, you can put in 42,000 instead of 22, which is the current limit.
So you're saying this is for top executives, business owners, people that are sort of more responsible for their own pensions?
Well, salaried employees couldn't. A top executive could. It's just a function of how much you make, really. I mean, most people, their employer wouldn't be interested in doing this. It's a bit wieldy. It takes some paperwork, creates some costs. But I've had some clients I've done this for, and if you're in the right fit, it's really good. To oversimplify, if you're over 50. And I'll say the closer you make to at least 200,000, 150 T4 income, then it's definitely worth pursuing.
I guess, and anyone that applies to, I'm sure they will be looking into that today because, wow, that sounds like a good way of avoiding the tax man, which we all like to do.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, most people, frankly, don't even know about it. A lot of advisors don't or know how to work it right. Little bonus tip to any listeners who already have it out there. If you're getting close to retiring and you're thinking of selling the business, you've got to deal with this pension plan before you sell, because the new owners aren't going to want to have it. So
No.
You could have done all these right things along the way. And if you're not proactive as you get close to retirement, it can still be very good, but it can be better if you do it the right way.
Yeah, we're thinking of selling the business to Sean and Phil, but we're not making north of any of those numbers, so I don't know how this will apply to us.
Actually,
Sean and Phil.
Actually, it's a hostile takeover.
It's Sean and Phil in the morning.
When I think Phil, I think hostel, so I can definitely
absolutely.
understand.
I think of Phil, I think of hostage. Listen, this is something. This is something for certain people that. Well, it's part of what I love about you, Phil, Tim, Phil, Phil, Tim. Is that not everyone knows about these things, and for those people that it applies to, it's good to have someone like the Nibbler on your side, because he can guide you through the
the financial waters.
Thank you very much.
The financial seas.
Very much.
Financial rivers.
Okay, Niblett, I yield my time to the senator from Brampton. Sorry, we just been talking about the impeachment. Is that getting any play down there?
Oh, yes, but you can, again, guess what side most of my pals are on. One guy wasn't there yesterday for Tuesday golf. We have a gang that plays Tuesday mornings. And we were joking that he was probably at home watching the impeachment. He's not a Trump lover at all. So I texted him, asked him if that's what he was doing. He says, yes. He says, my question is, why isn't that what you guys are doing?
Mm-hmm. He is a Trump lover or not?
Oh, not at all. He's from New York, and he's had some people personally deal with them, and for that and many other reasons, not a big fan.
I know. It's amazing. How do you sit there and watch that and not connect the dots and realize how horrifically wrong that is?
You know how you do that? You just do. You go, well, I think it's wrong, but what's on the Netflix? Yeah. I can't do anything about it. Listen, Nibs, thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon. Tim.Niblett at raymondjames.ca. Always looking for somebody to just a second opinion. You don't have to. There's no obligation, right, Timmy?
we can just go out for a drink. We don't have to date. Exactly.
That's right. That's right. It's up to you if you want to get to second base with the Sherpa. Listen, man, talk to you soon. And great, the microphone sounds great. Live from the Sherpa Studios in Florida.
Well, thanks for the tip. Enjoy and profit all. Have a great week.
All right, my friend. Take care. All right, we'll take a quick break here. Come on back. There's a really interesting story that I'm not sure a lot of people are talking about, but this Prince Andrew Epstein connection. We're going to play you some audio of Prince Andrew talking about how he doesn't do this one human function, so there's no way he could be tied to that young lady in the picture.
Oh, man.
It really is one of the most bizarre answers to a question you're going to hear. Come on back. We'll tell you what it is. It's humbleandfredradio.com.
She was all bad, bad, nevertheless. Calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck. They don't even have the right tools for survival. Oh, baby, yeah, yeah. You're growing up too fast. You don't even have the right tools for survival. Different things, different men.
It's Humble and Fred Radio.
Gotta see one man's hell.
Southern Ontario. Welcome back. Welcome back to Humble and Fred. Where you guys been? We were out there on the satellite for a bunch of years. You know, it was weird getting calls from Georgia and California. We missed our Southern Ontario, though. It was strange. We would get more calls. In 5 years on Sirius XM, would you not say we had 10-1 American calls to Canadian?
Yes.
And if we did get a call from Canada, for some reason it was from Alberta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truckers.
Truckers, yeah.
And truckers, that's right.
Truckers everywhere, yeah.
But we have an affection for Southern Ontario.
Yeah, we do.
We like you.
Yeah, I mean, you're Southern Ontario's morning show.
Comedy leaders.
Thank you, Haldimand County.
You are.
Funny 820. Good to be on you. HumbleandFredRadio.com. Catch up. Get with it. Coming up, we'll talk about Babcock and how it's time for him to go. It's funny because I wanted to bring up the Prince Andrew thing, and we will in a second, but it's interesting because I'd forgotten I wanted to tie it into season 3 of The Crown, which just started on the Netflix. But we'll get to all of that. But first, Freddie Man, why don't we talk a little bit about FYI if you can spare the time over there? I know you're busy.
FYI musicnews.ca. It's where you go to find out what's going on in the Canadian music industry. It's they have music news, and they have media, the media beat, where you can find out what the media is saying about what's going on in the music industry across the country. They have today's new song. You can scroll to the bottom and hear the latest Canadian music that's been released. It really is a fantastic landing place if you want to know what's going on in the Canadian music industry. FYImusicnews.ca.
In a second, I'll talk about. I always forget when Barker comes in. I'm like, oh yeah, Barker used to teach yoga. Last night I went to a yoga class.
You do more yoga than I do.
And I will tell you that, it's one of those things. It's hard to, it's easy to be negative, right? And I was fine, but I walked in because anything that's a little bit out of the ordinary, I don't like. I'm very regimented.
That's
I like
why
60
you need
minutes.
The practice.
I know. I like 60 minutes. I like it to be I like to get there a certain time.
Yeah.
And then as I walked into the studio, the teacher person was writing something on a chalkboard outside the studio. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And it just said straps and blocks. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a whole straps and blocks class.
You didn't want blocks and straps?
It turned out, I thought it was going to be, I thought, I don't want to do that. But
good.
You need those for your back,
Good.
mister.
Good what?
I'm glad you didn't. I don't want you to hurt yourself.
Oh, no, but the thing is, it turned out that it was great.
I was going to say,
it was the greatest thing.
For men, for their
Absolutely.
back,
But my point
put
is
it on your toe.
Initial reaction was,
So what is it?
It just gives you some help doing some of the poses.
You men need
I'm not
it.
very bendy.
Y'all throw out your backs.
Yes.
And then you lie in agony screaming, why?
And this prevents that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, then that's good.
I just thought, I forgot, because my reaction was just kind of like, oh, there you are. It's all zen. Everything's dark and quiet. And I just see someone putting something, I'm like, nope. I'm like, right away, I'm all negative.
Taking no straps.
Not doing no straps and blocks.
Sweaty old strap.
So why did you take that position?
Well, it's because it's in human nature, Just anything that's new, I don't like it, right?
Right.
Like I just have a certain. I only go for 1 hour. I have a certain kind of class I go
get it.
to, and she was like straps and blocks. I'm like, no, f that.
I'm
not doing
glad.
straps and blocks.
I'm glad. Now
Straps
you're
and
going
blocks.
to be all straps, all blocks, all the
Straps and
time.
blocks all the time. Chamberplan.ca, Canada's #1 plan for employee benefits. We've talked about this and just how convenient it is. I told you I had some dental work done, and you just the office just sends it to the insurance company. Next thing you know, it shows up in your bank account.
Love it.
It is. It's really good. It's small and medium-sized businesses. It's a great opportunity to not only prioritize the needs of your employees, but importantly, punch above your weight, because you can provide big-time benefits for a small business. Group insurance and employee benefits enjoyed by 30,000 Canadian businesses. Chamberplan.ca. Brett's coming in on Monday.
Great.
I believe.
Great.
Is that all? Have you had any part of that, or is that just all me?
That's been all you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
No, I
I'll
wasn't
put it
sure,
on the
because sometimes
schedule.
I think the three of us are on the same
Sometimes
email.
I get on a loop.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. If I'm on the loop, I put it in the schedule.
I only told you that because it's so easy to go, not doing that. Not for me.
Yeah, I get
And
it.
no, it turned out to be great. And yeah, I don't go as much as I used to, but once a week it's good to go and just
how do
stretch out.
So these are to keep your back in a position so that you don't. It's less likely maybe to injure yourself.
What it does is it just aids you in trying to perform some of these moves. And I've done blocks before. I've never done the straps, and she was great.
If you have sciatic pain, if you want to get into your psoas muscle, if you've been told by some professional that you need to get into that,
You got to get into it.
if you've ever thrown your back out, straps, blocks, that type of prolonged long stretches are fantastic for your back. Honestly, they really, really are. And the thing is, women, we have, up until age 50 or whatever it is, we'll find out.
That's right. It won't be long now.
I don't know.
Another 15 years for you.
Let's see. Every month we have these natural hormones that actually open up our hips, right? Which helps open up our lower back. You don't have that. You don't have years and years and years
Strangely,
of that.
though, Phil has that hormone.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nice and open. Nice and open.
Nice and open.
But for you, for men, you don't have that. So your back just gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. That's why, one of the reasons anyway, so many men are much more prone to throw. Not to say women don't throw out their back, they do. But I know more than once growing up, suddenly there would be like a day and my dad's on the floor and we all have to serve him soup on the floor for like 3 days.
Soup on the floor.
Yeah.
Why soup? That would be messy. Why not something
I
solid?
don't know. That's my memory.
It's interesting what we both pick up on. You think it's messy, and I'm like, I just see like soup on the floor sounds amazing. I love that.
Maybe through a straw, but how do you lay on the floor with it?
I just like the idea of being on. What are you doing on the floor, Howard? I'm enjoying some delicious soup.
So I have a little exercise program, and I lay on this bench at the back, and I lift a weight above my head, nothing heavy, and
great.
every so often I think, boy, what if I ever drop that on my face?
Oh God!
I could knock my teeth out or break a rib.
Yeah.
So I started wearing a hockey helmet with a cage while I'm doing it.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know what
Please
you could
send
also
videos.
do? Yeah.
No, because if it ever drops,
You're right.
it would take my teeth out.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
You know what you could do
What?
if you didn't want to use a hockey helmet? You could get a mascot head.
I got one.
Yeah.
Just an old mascot head and put that on.
BJ Birdie.
Yeah, if you really,
Bring it in.
I would pay to see you in a hockey helmet doing weights.
We'll take a picture.
Okay, do
it's
it.
just,
I love it.
it's when you get to be this age, the thought of hurting yourself
For sure.
is so scary that you do whatever you can.
And that's great that you do that because a lot of people, I'll put myself in that, don't make the time, find the time, or bother to do it,
Could you do this as well? Could you take some video of you on the floor trying to eat soup through a hockey helmet?
Please.
Please, seriously.
Through a straw.
Honestly, I would pay you for that.
You know what the funny thing is about that? I think
Yes.
it's the hockey helmet you gave me about 20 years ago.
Ooh.
With the cage on it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the hockey helmet I was supposed to be wearing when I almost got my eye taken out.
Gah.
Do you know that story?
No.
No.
You
Wow.
gave it to me after that.
Save it for Rock'em
After that, I
Sock'em.
was
Yeah, you had retired.
I had retired from hockey.
Yes.
Because I had
Oh,
my
you
eye.
didn't- you had it,
I
but
was. I
didn't
had it
wear
on the
it.
bench.
Oh, you silly bugger.
Like I was such an.
Sorry for calling you a bugger.
No, it's okay. But I was. By the way, this
I could get in
is,
trouble.
the chats don't seem to be working, or is there just nobody chatting?
It's a November day.
Excellent.
Straps and blocks.
Everybody's sad.
In Quebec, they enacted a rule for hockey players that you had to, all the guys, in order to rent the ice, everyone had to have a helmet with either a visor or a cage. I think it was a cage. That's what the rule was. You had to have a full face for insurance purposes.
Right.
So I was like, screw that, because I just had another helmet that I had had as a kid, and I got a helmet so that I would comply because they were coming around the rinks and making sure 30 guys, 30 helmets with cages. So I had my helmet with the cage on the bench.
Okay.
So that I would comply, but I wasn't wearing it during the game. I go to the net, stick comes up, stabs me in the cornea, and I had to have laser surgery to close a hole in my eye. When if I had been wearing the helmet I gave to Fred, all would be well.
As it sat
and
on
I
the
wouldn't
bench.
be the lazy-eyed half pirate you see before you today.
Wear your helmets, kids.
Wear your helmets.
I
Imagine if I'd lost an eye and that was the story.
That would suck. You'd only see the half of it.
That's like Fimber.
Just 2 weeks.
A couple of weeks ago, I bought
Glass eye.
an extension ladder. I wanted one so bad, and I've used it a couple of times, but the whole time I'm on that, I'm terrified. I'm thinking, I'm 63. If this thing slipped, went sideways, and I fell on the ground.
Yeah.
This is your ladder?
Yeah, what is the recovery?
No,
So it's like,
exactly.
I got to tie this thing off, or I'm not going to get up it unless somebody's holding it at the bottom. All these things go through my mind.
Now, when you're up on the ladder, do you wear hockey gear? Do you go up
With
in
a
full
cage.
gear?
Yeah.
No, but I probably should.
Listen, I'm not making. I have done more injurious things to myself, and I'd like to. You got to be careful, but you also have to mitigate it with. You still have to live your life.
You popped your knee by smelling your toes.
Thank you.
No, but here's
I
the
popped a knee by smelling my foot.
I fall off a ladder in my 30s. The recovery time and the bounce back is a lot different than falling off a ladder
Yeah, no, you're
at
right.
63.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You may never recover.
No,
so,
you're right. The difference between this age and what is 30s or 40s even is that, I would get injured in the golf season in my 30s and 40s, go to the chiropractor, go to a doctor, and a couple weeks later I'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with an injury from like 3 years ago
Yeah.
because they, as you say, sometimes they just never go away. Or as my doctor once said to me, I said, "Oh, this kind of hurts my, this is bugging me." He goes, "Yeah, that's probably going to bug you for a while." I'm like, "That's your that's your thing." Yeah,
When
just
you cross the line
Yeah.
with the doctor and they say, that's
Yeah.
yours for life.
That's
yeah.
yours.
Yeah,
That's who
that's
you
how
are
it is
now.
now.
well,
Yeah.
that's right. This is who you are.
Oh, you
Your
got a
neck
lump in your boob? Yeah, you just got a lump.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. So good luck with that.
Your
What?
bones are more brittle. Your muscles aren't as elastic, or the elasticity, on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's just got to watch yourself.
So Jeffrey Epstein was suicided by the Clintons, and that's the facts.
And I would think that the royal family might have something to do with that as well.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
But let's put a pin in that.
Oh my God.
So the
Season
royal
8 of
family-
The Crown.
Exactly. The royal family and the Clintons got together, suicided another victim.
Suicide.
And you all know the story. Jeffrey Epstein, pretty much the super creep.
Wake up, Lieutenant.
Had a place where he would bring very famous people where they would visit, and there were young women there. Bill Clinton visited. He denies it ever happened. Prince Andrew, remind me who he is again? Which one's he?
He's the Queen's son, his second son.
Remember in season, is it end of season 1? I think she's pregnant on The Crown.
Yeah.
Remember? Little baby Andrew.
So Andrew's one of her kids,
Yeah.
along with Charles
Yes.
and Anne,
Yeah.
Princess Anne.
He was a little bit like the Whoops baby, at the end.
Who Charles was?
No,
or Andrew
no,
was?
Andrew.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I don't know if he was a Whoops baby, but it was like towards the end of the baby breeding.
So
No, wait a minute.
Wasn't
Prince Andrew's, isn't he the middle one? Yeah, there was Charles,
Right.
Andrew, and then
Anne
No, I
was,
thought it was Charles and Andrew.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
I
doesn't
think
matter.
he's the
Okay.
baby of the family.
All right,
I
all right.
think.
So we'll just bring. If you don't know the story, you've heard the story. Epstein's the guy who allegedly killed himself in jail, and there was all these charges. The story really is interesting, and there alleges that a lot of people were brought there. They had a bit of there was a sex scandal, the sex ring of some kind, sexual.
An island.
An island
it was
of
an
sexual.
island of underage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In college sweaters. That was
Yeah.
the thing.
And anyway, there was an interview he did on the weekend in the UK with a British outlet, and I haven't seen it all, but I've seen parts of it, and it really is creepy because he's sitting there, and listen, you never know for sure, right? But just his body language, the look on the face, the way he shifts in his chair, he's guilty as sin. But then they're asking him these questions, and he just comes up with the most bizarre
Why
answers.
would you do that interview, man?
Yeah, that's what I
exactly.
said to him. Freddie
Yeah.
said, "Have you seen the interview?" I said, "No." So we started watching it together, doing our preparation. And I said to Fred, I said, "Why would he put himself in this situation?" We're going to play you this clip in a second, but answer that.
Answer what?
Answer my question.
What was your question?
I don't remember.
Well, why would he do
put himself in this situation?
Well, I think he's scrambling now. He just doesn't want to let it lie, and I guess he's huddled with his people, and they thought, you might want to explain yourself because as it sits, you look guilty as sin. So I think in an effort to make himself look better or explain himself, it's actually gone the other way.
All right.
Because
so,
when you're guilty, you're guilty,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yes, and I won't give away what you're about to hear, but it is pretty remarkable. And this will take about, 40 seconds. So have a listen.
Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking and abusing dozens of underage girls. One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts,
Yeah.
has made allegations against you. she was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with
Now, before you hear what he's about to say, you allegedly were dancing and sweating profusely.
Yeah.
And of all the things, hey, listen, we've all lied.
Sure.
We're all liars, but at least come up with a believable lie. What were we going to
Did
say?
she say that the young woman said she had to have a bath because he was sweating?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought.
And where is this?
I thought it was cut off there. She said, and then a bath.
Is this his daughter's?
Oh, okay.
No, this
birthday?
this was at the Island of Misfit
Yeah,
Toys.
This was Sex Island.
This was
This is our Christmas segment. The
Exactly.
Island of Misfits.
Possibly.
There's a slight problem with.
So yeah, you were. So she says you were sweating.
Okay.
Here's the thing he comes up with. It's beautiful.
With the sweating, because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
I have I have a peculiar medical condition.
Or I didn't sweat at the time.
See, at an interruption.
What?
Okay, wait, it gets better.
And that was, actually, yes. I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. And I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
So,
Oh my God.
now he brings up
He can now, but
he had a brief because of some PTSD. No laughing matter.
Yeah.
But because of that, he had lost his ability to sweat for a period
just during that time.
during dancing with underage girls.
Oh my God.
He's
Now
lost
on
the ability.
NBC.
Now he would have been married at the time.
Dancing with the Underage Stars.
Tonight on
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Tonight on Dancing with Underage Girls, sweaty Prince Andrew and his partner.
Now, would he have been married to who was it at the time?
Fergie.
Fergie.
Fergalicious.
From the Sweat Peas?
No, different one.
Different
The
one?
original Fergie.
From the Black-Eyed Sweats?
From the Weight Watchers ads of the 80s.
But
Remember?
see, if before that interview, you'd think he might have sat in a room and thought, okay, if she asks this, here's how you're going to react. And one of those,
Yeah.
like you go through.
Yeah.
I'll do the sweat thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine they would have okayed that. Okay, if sweat
Good,
comes up,
good
you.
call. Good call.
Yeah. Imagine they're whiteboarding ideas, and he came up with, I know what I'll say.
Yeah.
I don't sweat. Good one, Prince.
Maybe don't lead with that, Andrew.
Although that probably took him by surprise. He probably never thought that would come up.
Oh my God.
And if you listen to how, again, listen, we've all told lies. He is such a bad liar. He's not because he starts to stumble. So,
He's stuttering all over the thing.
So we're going to play one more segment. So in that segment, what he's trying to do is get that sympathy because I was shot at during the Falkland Wars. And then he wants people to go, ooh, poor Andrew, cannot sweat.
He doesn't have a stutter, right? Like his grandfather did? No. So this is just him lying.
Okay. So the next thing
Got
they're
it.
going to bring up is, I guess, a picture was taken on a certain night. And now he's trying to say, well, no, that couldn't.
Is that on there too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Oh my God.
On that particular day that we now understand is the date, which is the 10th of March, I was at home. I was with the children. I'd taken Beatrice to a Pizza Express in Woking.
Why would you remember that
That's a great, I love that she does it. She goes, why would you remember that?
so specifically?
Only because he doesn't remember a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But he remembers the day the picture was taken with his arm around the young girl.
Yes.
Exactly where he was and what he was eating and,
Wow. Someone looked
what
through an old
pants he
day
was wearing.
planner.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Why do you
Pizza
remember
Express,
a
we'll write it in.
Pizza Express birthday and being at home.
Because going to Pizza Express in Woking is an unusual thing for me to do. A very unusual thing for me to do. I've only been to Woking a couple of times, and I remember it weirdly distinctly. But as soon as somebody reminded me of it, I went, oh yes, I remember that.
Oh, yes, I remember that. I went over to Woking and sweated all over Pizza Express because my sweat returned.
Pizza Express. Meanwhile, the guys that run Pizza Express are like, hey.
And
Oh,
then,
no, thank you.
It's not on the clip. Then he goes on to say, there's a picture of him, his arm around her.
Oh, my God.
Smiling. It looks like there's a party going on.
Yeah.
And now he's saying it's a picture of a picture of a picture. I don't even know if that's been doctored.
What? Oh,
I
my
don't,
God.
He doesn't recall being that.
That's me at Pizza Express.
Get a load of this. He doesn't recall a picture at a party
My
standing with this young woman, but he remembers Pizza Express.
Yeah, right.
In Woking.
I got
And now
mushrooms.
And now he's saying the picture may have been doctored.
Wow.
Like, how pathetic is that?
Maybe
Yeah, he really
green
needs.
pepper.
Yeah, I remember the night in Woking with Beatrice. I had extra pepperoni, a side of sweat.
I remember it because I dabbed my napkin on the pepperoni, which is something unusual for me.
Yeah, it's
to
very
do.
unusual for me to sweat all over the pepperoni.
Yes.
Although I must say, back in the late 60s, I actually shook hands with him, and I don't recall him sweating.
Oh, you don't
Prince
remember a
Andrew.
glamour handshake?
He went to, oh yeah, I did.
Had he done the Falklands at that
No, that was
moment
prior
in
to the
time?
Falklands. Yes.
No, up where the Tin Palace is, Burleigh Falls, just south is Lakefield, and he went to Lakefield College School.
Oh.
And the whole time he was going there was quite a buzz.
Right.
And the odd time in town, he would be there for an event or something. And we were all down there one day, and he was there, and he went down the line and shook everybody's hand. At
LCS.
the time, huh?
LCS.
Yeah.
LCS is the school. I didn't realize that's where it was.
Yeah, and he went at the time. I didn't know, like, meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
But it was, Lakefield was quite a buzz with having
Oh my God.
the
Well,
Prince. Little did they know.
And it's weird because there's a couple pictures of Fred and the Prince dancing. Yeah. And then they went
Do you
over.
remember where you were?
Yeah,
They went
over to the Pizza Nova.
place. Yeah.
There's a picture of me and the Prince in a boat, and Epstein's behind us water skiing.
What were you doing on that day, Fred?
Oh, that's right.
I was
And I remember
getting
it because it was
butter
a young
tart.
Fred Patterson and I went off to pizza after, and Fred said, "It's weird, Prince, you don't sweat."
This interview is not going well, Andrew. Abort interview. Get out of the chair.
Season 3 of The Crown. I've started watching it in sort of fits and starts. Like I don't know about you guys, but I'm really in a non-binge mode right now.
Oh,
And
interesting.
But like last night, I was like, I started watching something. I actually started watching an episode of The Crown and bailed on it. I went, I'm just not in the mood for it.
I fell asleep because it lulled those British voices. Lull me to a beautiful nap.
New Queen, new Prince Philip, and new. Who's the third person that's different?
New
Princess Margaret.
Yeah.
Helen Bonham Carter, who's amazing.
She's so great.
Have you started watching?
I got about halfway through the first episode.
Okay.
Marco was very engaged, and I fell asleep.
Yeah, I'm with Marco. I found it great. I just don't feel like watching tons of episodes back to back. Have you started watching it yet?
No, I looked last night, and the difference. Here's the difference as far as binging goes in our attitudes. I looked at The Crown, and they've dropped all the episodes.
Yep.
And then I want to see the new Ray Donovan, but Showtime only does one per week, right?
Right.
So it frustrated me a bit because I thought, only one Ray Donovan? I want more, right? So you can binge it. So I'm going to wait 3 or 4 weeks and then watch 3 or 4 in a row. But both of those I want to get on.
There's an actor, I don't know his name, and again, he's sort of one of those people you've sort of seen before, and he plays the Prime Minister Harold Wilson because John Lithgow, who was Churchill in this series, dies in the early 60s.
Spoiler alert.
Well, he does.
historically.
Yeah, spoiler alert, history happened.
Pizza Express.
But he's really good. I don't know why I know this, but I can just tell that's a guy. He's pretty good at this acting thing because his character is so complicated because he respects the Queen, but he's a Labour Prime Minister, so he's got to be not seen.
That guy, yeah.
He's got to be seen not to be a big fan of the monarchy because the Labour movement was anti-establishment.
Sure.
And just seeing him, he's really, really, however he's playing it. I mean, I know writing is part of it, but he's good.
So what era is this?
Early 60s, man.
60s.
Which is also good for us because it's very historical. It talks about some things that happened. There's a horrible accident that happened in a mining town. And, and it's a real good snapshot of history in our lifetime.
Spy cases.
Some spy cases. Really interesting things.
Have you watched The Grinder yet? Remember where you talked about this? No? Okay, never mind.
Where do I watch that?
The Grinder, it's on Netflix.
On the
Yeah,
Netflix?
with Rob Lowe and Fred Savage.
Oh, I'm going to watch it.
If you're not in a binging mood, it's probably a good one because they're only
watching
like
it.
22 minutes episodes and they're really funny.
I'm gonna watch it now.
I laugh and I laugh and I laugh. It's the same guys who wrote Sigad. You know that It's Gad show that we love? It's the same writers. Same writers.
So it's
there you
called
go.
Grinder?
The Grinder.
The Grinder.
There's only one season. Sadly, it never made it to a second season. It is so funny. We had it on last night. I giggle like an idiot watching it.
Okay, I'm just putting it on my list.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk more. There's a chance, outside chance, the great Ed the Sock
I don't think he's calling
will be
in.
joining us.
I don't think that's happening.
We're still going to talk a little bit about, well, you brought it up this morning, Fred, man, about the fact that, there's a groundswell of support for maybe moving on from the Babcock era.
Yes.
As always, it's our pleasure. We're happy to have you along. It's a decent November day here in Southern Ontario and around the world. It's Humble and Fred Radio.
Falling through lost spaces. Now that we're lonely, now that there's nowhere to go. Watching from both sides, these clock towers burning up. I lost my time here, or I lost my patience with it all. We lost faith in the arms of love. Falling through lost spaces. Now that we're lonely, now that we're so far from home. Watching from both sides, these towers been tumbling down. I lost my mind here, or I lost my patience with the Lord. Oh, with the Lord. We lost faith in the arms of love. Fighting
So I hit the road and made my getaway. Restless feeling really got a hold. I started searching for a better way. And I kept on looking for a sign in the middle of the night.
It's Humble and Fred Radio. Good to have you. Good to have you with us. So we talked about Crown Season 3 there. You know, it's funny. I saw this, what do they call them, Phil? Memes? Memes?
Memes.
Memes?
Meme.
Meme. I saw this. And it's very true about Netflix. It applies to Netflix as well as television. It says, my whole life consists of people asking me if I've seen this movie, and me telling them, no, I haven't seen that movie, and then them telling me I should see that movie, and then me telling them I'll add it to the list, but there's no list, and I won't watch that movie. But it's true. Our social discourse, you know, Amanda just reminded me of a show that she recommended. And when we talk about, you know, the new era of, I don't even know if we call it television or just entertainment watching is so different, but it's really that. It's like our whole lives are, hey, have you seen Ray Donovan? You should watch Ray Donovan. Where do I see it? Where can I find it? When should I watch it? After The Crown?
The only reason I recommend to Ray Donovan, because it gets to be a lot of the same, but it's John Voight is just so good in that show. You've got to see it.
Yeah. Well, and here's my problem
Yeah.
with Ray Donovan. I watched the first couple of seasons, I think. I don't know where I am and it happens to me continually. I don't know where I am in that series, right? Like same with Shameless. I love that show.
You know, literally, what you should have, and I've thought about this before, beside the TV, have a little log book.
Like a notebook, yeah.
And just write down, okay, Ray Donovan, I left off here. Like,
yeah, we should. There should be we should come up with something, Phil.
Yeah.
For people like us,
you know,
can't remember.
And there's progress bars if you go back sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
That show you where you may have left off.
Where are you? Is that on Crave? You're watching it?
Yeah, through Crave. Yes.
Through Crave on Showtime.
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes. No, that's it.
It's Crave. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, then I'll be able to see. But it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like I love that show. I maybe even recommended it to you or whatever, vice versa. Watched it all, and now I can't remember where I am in the series.
It's what's interesting too. So many things are interesting.
Interesting.
Fog blobs.
Is you talk about screen time, right? Like you don't want kids spending too much time in front of tablets or televisions. And then even us, you know, sometimes you get caught up in whatever, and you think I've been in front of the screen too much. How does, you know, especially in these winter months, how much is too much? Sitting in front of a TV just vegging out. Because it's so easy to get caught up on all these shows.
Yeah.
Hours and hours can go by. Well, maybe you could have been doing something else or a little more constructive or a little more physical or whatever.
For me, I like to sort of not do any of it until the evening. Like yesterday I was out and I had a bunch of things to do. We had a few phone calls, you and I, and then I went to this yoga class and I kind of made sure I didn't start watching the Netflix. But like I said to you and Amanda, for some reason last night, I kind of watched television in an old-fashioned way. I watched an episode of something, then I watched some sports, then I watched another something online, then I watched some I sort of programmed my own lineup because what I do is what I'm sure a lot of people do is I just will say, okay, here comes The Crown night again, and then 4 episodes of The Crown, and then I go to bed or something. But I just didn't feel like getting stuck on one subject for the whole night.
It's so cool when you do get sucked in. And one episode ends and just sitting there, you're so excited for the next one. And that goes back to what I said a few minutes ago about the Ray Donovan thing. I was so disappointed when I saw just one episode. Just not used to that. Because even when I caught on to Ray Donovan, they were in season 6, but I started watching season 1.
Right.
So by the time I got to 6, they were all in place too. So I've been able to binge that.
You caught up.
So
you know, the series that I did that with, and again, it had been around for several years, is that Louis Julia Dreyfus Veep, which is very, very funny, Fred. It's like you and Doll would love it.
tried
Once
it,
you and
I
Doll
know.
make up, You guys should watch that. And what happened was I watched the same thing. I had 6 seasons to watch. I think they're on Crave as well because it's an HBO show. I got all, watch, and it was really funny. And then I stopped, and she went away. She had a cancer, she had breast cancer. They take a year off the series. And when it came back, I kind of had forgot about it. And then Rachel and I were looking for something to watch, and she said, "What about Veep?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, season 7's out," and we just picked it up, and she's really good. I mean, she's as good as she was on Seinfeld, but the writing on this show is funny. But where do you find time to watch?
I've tried a couple of times the first episode. It hasn't grabbed me for whatever reason, I don't know. And I'll tell you another one, and our buddy Mike Boone loves it, and so many people say
Toronto Mike.
It might be the best ever. I can't get through episode 1 of The Wire. It's too plodding. It's like, have you tried?
Not yet.
Like again, the other day I thought, you know what? I'm going to, because I read something else about The Wire might be the best series ever.
Yeah.
And the first one, it's just all this, it's just, talking, nothing's happening. And I don't know how much time I have to give it before it pulls me in. But.
Sounds a lot like our show.
Yeah.
We just talk, nothing's happening. What we've recommended to new listeners is, some of this seems odd. I know we don't sound like a regular radio show, but it's you have to go back and binge 30 years worth of go back and catch up on 30 years worth of Humble and Fred episodes, just so you know what's going on.
Guess what I'm watching? Some nights I just like to watch YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scroll through YouTube, and anything you want. Anyway, the other day I watched this feature on what did the people make on I Love Lucy, salary-wise, and then it was sort of prorated to what they would be making nowadays, and it was sort of fascinating because it would be like, William Frawley made like $680 per episode. In today's dollars, it's a lot of money, but still not what people are making for sitcoms, especially popular sitcoms.
Yeah.
And then they've had John Wayne. They only paid him like $300 for his appearance on that one show. But they said it was more. He did it a favor to Lucy because she had done a favor for him. And how old am I? I'm fascinated by this.
I had something I heard the other day, and just now that you've jogged my memory, it was a Lucy story. I know you love Lucy. We all love Lucy. But you love her a lot more than... She and Desi bankrolled. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, I was watching. There's another series on Netflix I love. Again, first season came out a couple years ago. It's called The Toys That Made Us, and it's a story of the toys of our life. And every episode you would love it.
Fantastic, yeah.
And it talks about everything. Like I watched a whole episode on the history of Lego and where it came from. But what I loved about the series is that it also shows a lot of the commercials from when you and I were kids. Commercials for these toys.
Right.
That's my favorite part. You will love it. Anyway, so they told the story of Star Trek and the sort of the invention of that's when all of a sudden it was all Star Trek toys and Star Wars. And I didn't realize this, that Lucy and Desi and their production company bankrolled Star Trek. They couldn't get it made. Nobody wanted to do it. And Lucille Ball, the businesswoman that she was, said, "I'll take a chance." And the company bankrolled, I think, the first couple of seasons or first season, and then it wasn't making them any money, and they sort of sold it back. And
what was it? It was like a Desi Lou production at the beginning.
Sir. I didn't know that.
Well, in this thing I was watching the other night about who made what on I Love Lucy. Lucy and Ricky never took a salary. All the money that was supposed to go to them was poured right back into the production company. And then I guess that's how they grew.
Anyway, let's leave this hot Lucy take aside, as the kids like to say. Where do we need to get to? We're going to want to talk about Mike Babcock and your Toronto Maple Leafs. First, Fizzy, what can you tell us, if you had to, because I love listening to Fizz talk about marijuana. Sean, what's the story that you said there was a story that we would all like?
Yeah, we'll get to this for maybe the podcast extra, but
we got time.
Dogs,
what do you got going?
It's a new formula for how to calculate your dog's age in human years.
Right on.
I'll have to get the formula in front of me here, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah,
so there's because most people,
minutes.
the conventional wisdom is that a year in a dog's life is like 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't really buy into that. I guess. I don't know.
Is Stan
Doug-
middle-aged?
Well, yeah, Stan is going to be 8 in March. So what does that make him?
I don't go for it at the
56.
A 1-year-old dog is way more advanced than a 7-year-old child.
Yeah.
Because a 1-year-old dog, just think what they can go anywhere, do anything. A 7-year-old can't. You know what I mean?
A 7-year-old. Well, I'm not. No, I don't know what you mean.
Well, it's just I could see physically that you could say, as you know, a 7-year-old dog is physically like a 49-year-old human being.
Right.
But when a dog is 1 year old, I think their ability to go out into the world is a lot better than a 7-year-old kid's. You know, they swim like great. They
What, 7-year-old
run
kids?
up hills.
What,
you know,
7-year-old kids can't swim
not like
or
a
run up
dog.
hills?
Well, you know what I mean.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, most of the time I do.
Right.
But I'm not getting it.
Like the rate of comprehension. There may be
I think
more
a
advanced into it.
7-year-old human being comprehends a lot more than a 1-year-old dog.
No, I'm saying what they can do. Like you
That's what
could
this
you could
study-
open a door and let a dog out at 1 year old, and not worry about it necessarily. Where you wouldn't do that with a 7-year-old kid.
All right.
That's all.
Well, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Listen, I can't buy everything you're selling.
Or a 2-year-old dog might be closer to a 14-year-old. I get that.
This actually says with this new formula, a 2-year-old dog is more like a 42-year-old human being.
Wow.
Bingo. Thank you.
I don't know what
Yeah.
you're saying bingo for. I'm not.
Well, because I'm just saying a younger dog
I'm
seems
just
to be more advanced than a 7-year-old kid. That's
so,
all.
but a 2-year-old dog, you're saying is like a 49-year-old human being?
So so just to label it out right out front, the new formula is it's based on epigenetic clock, which is finding the natural logarithm of the dog's age, multiplying it by 16, and then adding 31 to the total.
Right.
So if this
I get
dog
it.
was 18 years old, it would be 77, and if if it were a 2-year-old dog, it would be 42 in human years.
That's what I was trying to explain. I just think a 1-year-old dog is more advanced than a 7-year-old kid as far as what. it
Okay,
does.
well,
But
maybe after the show you can diagram that for me, but I would say a 1-year-old dog is probably definitely more advanced than a 1-year-old human being.
Mhm.
But I would say a 7-year-old human being is much more advanced than a 1-year-old
I don't mean
dog.
mentally. I don't necessarily mean mentally.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean physically.
You mean
what
like scampering?
Yes.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
they could run up the side of a mountain maybe where a 7-year-old kid can't.
No, then they shouldn't.
You know what? They could swim across a lake where a 7-year-old kid couldn't.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, don't
Yeah.
get angry. I'm just confused.
So a 1-year-old dog is equivalent from anyone from age 10 to 30 years old. That's what they're saying.
Good. So how old is Stan? 100?
Yeah, he's getting up there. No,
So
he's
an 8-year-old
No,
dog.
because what he's saying as they get older, then it pulls back. a
Yeah,
bit.
so he's about 65. So the curve starts to level off, and the oldest they can really get, because they only live to about 15 years or so, is just over 70.
Because I would say most 10-year-old dogs aren't like a 70-year-old person. They tend to be a little more active than a 7-year-old
No, like
person.
a 7-year-old person can't swim across a lake or run up a hill.
No, I didn't say that.
No, but I'm saying a 10-year-old dog can. Probably still.
Yeah, and a 7-year-old person would.
But
yeah.
I just
Yeah.
listen. I got no. I've got no. I'm not arguing with you. I just think.
Well, there's nothing to argue.
Well, bingo, you said.
Well,
Ding
I
dong.
said bingo because that reinforces what I was saying.
Exactly.
You can't
You guys
just
are the
say
10-year-old dogs
you,
here.
you can't
Yeah.
just say 2-year-old 14, 3-year-old 21 with a dog.
No.
No,
Fuck that.
that's fine. Yeah, okay. But listen, whatever it is, I love Stan. I do.
Well, how old is Stan now?
I told you he'll be 8 in March.
So 8.
So normally you'd say
It's
he
not
was
times 7 anymore. That's
So
what the
it's not
old
times
rule used
7. So an 8-year-old dog is like a 65-year-old human, but a 10-year-old dog is like a 70-year-old human. You just said that. You
Yeah.
said a 65-year-old human equivalent of a 10-year-old
Yeah,
dog.
now is.
But then he starts to drop off. All right.
but
Thank
it
goodness I have a
is-
cat.
Is Stan, when you see him out there, anywhere like, what is it, 56?
Yeah?
No.
Something like
He's
that.
way beyond a 56.
No, Stan's like just in his early 60s. That's what I said. Stan's like you guys. He's the exact same age as you guys right
That's scary. Yesterday, Stan pulled a log across a field for about 45 minutes. And I couldn't do that. Not with my teeth.
No, you couldn't.
I couldn't.
No, that's why. Yeah.
Can you imagine me and Stan both gnawing on the same stick?
Is there any?
I can't imagine
Is
that.
there any difference between Stan, say, at 8 than 3? as far as running and jumping and.
No, not really.
Well, and that's kind of what this graph
do you want
says.
me to being honest? No, not really.
No,
either.
no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
And
not
what,
much.
what I'm saying is, but there would be a big difference between a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
all.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, man.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was the of all the things we've talked about. Very contentious issue.
It was a heated argument.
Not, it was literally. I'm like, he seems very worked up about the whole dog.
I was just being adamant. I was trying to explain myself.
Yeah.
Sleeping on a couch.
Yeah, you explained yourself all right. Listen, let's talk about
Just
Phil.
because you can't,
I can't.
you couldn't absorb it.
Couldn't absorb it at all.
Yeah,
I still can't.
You needed it explained through
Yes,
scientifically.
And thank goodness he was here to bring us back together. Well, listen, I understand. You're a little raw this morning. Big argument with your wife last night.
Jesus.
Phil, talk about Strain Print because it's a companion app that we could all use.
Very true.
I tell you, son, I've used it. I get a new strain, some kind of new Kush, and I'll go look up on Strain Print. You can go look up not only what other people are getting out of it, but also the attributes, the way the plant interacts with people's medications and stuff. Phil, tell me about it.
And that's all about Strain Print. Whether you're 10, 40, or 8 dog years, Strain Print is your journaling and journey app. That's what I'm calling it. It's free from the Google or Apple store, and basically different people will receive marijuana differently, and cannabis is one of those unique things. And by journaling your progress and then comparing notes with other users, you're basically helping fortify your knowledge when it comes to cannabis. You can also earn loyalty points called strain points, and again, whether you're 10, 40, or 80, they're great. Strain points are great because you can redeem for things like t-shirts, hats, and toques and things like that. Of course, check out strainprint.ca or download the app, Apple or Google Play Store. It's all free that way.
Yes, Phil, continue while I text.
Well, I was actually asked about CBD and THC yesterday, so it's just some random quiz, and I was just like, what is this? No, I had to look it up. Just a random question from a family member.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're just like, I don't understand this cannabis stuff, and so I had to explain a little bit about that. So it's nice to have users who will use Strain Print that way.
Yeah, man.
Does Pearl use cannabis?
Over there, it's a pizza topping. You can spread cannabis on pizza over there.
What does that mean?
It's Cambodian oregano.
With THC?
Yeah. Anthony Bourdain did that one.
Is that legal?
Technically.
Only as a I'm serious.
As an herb,
as a food topping.
Yes.
That's the only way it's legal?
So there in Cambodia, they've got these pizza eateries, and they're all by the riverside, and you can get a pizza with some weed on it called, weed herbs for $7 US.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're pretty technically progressive. It's pretty cool.
And so does she eat pizza with that would be the question.
Well, Pearlie's weird. She can't even have coffee. So she's a bit sensitive to things. So it's like I wouldn't
Gives her the
introduce her
runs.
only because of her own.
Yeah. Gives her the runs.
Yeah.
The runs and some heart pressure, probably.
Yeah. That's well.
Yeah,
a lot of things are like that.
Yeah.
Do they have Imodium over there?
They probably do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mike Babcock came to town 5 or 6 years ago, heralded as the latest savior of the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was a big shake-up there for a couple of years. Brendan Shanahan became the president. Am I right with this timeline? There was Shanahan became president. Did he bring in Babcock?
Yes.
Huge, boost to the Maple Leafs, and like a lot of great coaches, a lot of coaches with big personalities. It's not always the most effective with superstar athletes.
Well, he signed an 8-year contract, $40 million. He's just into year 5 now. And it looks like the players are, well, he's lost the room, as they say. Last night they lose their 6th in a row, same thing.
Oof.
They can't generate a lot of offense, and they have this reputation of being dynamic. It's just not playing out. Defensively, their power play sucks. Their penalty killing's one of the worst in the league, on and on and on. So again, I went to have my hair cut yesterday, and there was 2 subjects within that shop were Mike Babcock and Don Cherry. And it's funny, that's just what everybody's talking about now. Is when it comes to the Leafs, it's all about Babcock. Should he be fired? Because it's always the default, right? You can't get rid of 23 players or 22 players, but you can get rid of one coach. So that's I think that's the phase that we're into now.
What was the number that you mentioned he makes per year?
5. 8 years.
You know,
8 years, $40 million.
Bill Belichick,
Mhm.
who is, big personality, one of the winningest coaches in sports history. You know what he makes?
Belichick?
Yeah.
No, not
something
offhand.
like 12, 5, 13 million a year. But the reason I brought him up is he's a personality coach, a big personality, a guy that, has a certain style. And yet, for some reason in football, that style works. In hockey, I don't know whether it's because there's less players, the dressing rooms are different, but that phrase, losing the room, you don't often hear that. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't often hear that as it relates to other sports.
Yeah, the thing is about football, in Belichick here it says $7.5 million.
I heard 12 yesterday for some reason. Doesn't matter.
See, football's structured different. In the NFL, there's very few people, if any, get guaranteed contracts. The problem with Mike Babcock now, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander, they have those contracts. They're guaranteed. So those players have that money regardless of how they play
And
going
regardless if they listen to the coach. And
That's
yeah.
right. So they can all get together or individually and go, Babcock's an asshole.
Well,
screw
whether they
him.
do, whether they
what
do
are they
it-
going to do? Trade me?
Yeah, whether they do it overtly or because it's implicit in a guaranteed contract is,
Yeah.
if you feel like taking a season off, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sitting back to Belichick for a second. I don't think whether it's a manager in baseball, a coach in basketball maybe, but football, I've never heard that phrase other than hockey. He's lost the room.
Right.
Pat Burns did. Mike Keenan did. Those type of coaches are great for a year to 2 or 3, and then they kind of, that bombastic style starts to wear off.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that is then it comes back to integrity. So if I've seen that this franchise in good faith has given me this money guaranteed, regardless of the coach, I'm under obligation to deliver on some level. But again, when a lot of these teams, they draft or they trade for players, a big part of it is researching character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a great player, but what's he like in the room? If he's what's he like at practice? And it really looks like the Leafs have been saddled with a collection of guys that they don't want to go that extra mile. They don't want to, give that extra effort. They're soft. It's a soft team.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hate to see you suffer.
No, I'm not suffering. I don't watch it. I told you. I've taken it out of my life.
I think the real question is, and again, I don't know the answer. How old is Mike Babcock in dog years? I have no idea.
I will say this, though. They're 4 years into the program, but they're playing like a dog that's 15.
All right.
What's
I like
15? 70?
78.
94.
We'll do a little podcast extra for you kids. Thanks, Southern Ontario. HumbleandFredRadio.com. Phil.
This episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Freedom Construction, Ringside MD, Clear Air Solutions, CDN Technologies, and 5 Hour Energy. We broadcast to the world from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show. More Humble and Fred tomorrow and online at humbleandfredradio.com.
Most of all, someone said true love was dead, and I bound to fall.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Straps and blocks.
Straps and blocks.
Straps and blocks. Yeah, there's a pretty full class, too. That always annoys me. I'm very particular about my classes. I like them small, dark, hot. I don't want anyone near me. I don't want your stupid feet in my face. Very packed class last night. There's like 30 people in that room. Very sweaty. It was good for you, man. I'm really not. I was going to say I'm really good at it, but it's not about being good at it. I'm good enough to follow along. Anything out of the ordinary, but man, when it's over, when that hour's done, just makes you feel good,
Yeah.
And I like it too. To your point about getting out of the house, I just like it because it's like, oh, at this time of the day, I will have an event. I will have something to do. But yeah, and lots of Now that here's the thing about a yoga class. It's pretty chock filled with. I mean, I know you're not supposed to say that women are attractive or whatever, but it's some pretty attractive bodies in that room.
I can imagine. How many men were in the room?
Half a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
Guy my age, our age, mostly younger, but it's I'd say probably 60-40 women to men in most classes.
Mm-hmm.
But the women, because it's a lot of them, like the really in shape ones are like, and you're not supposed to look, and I'm trying to be creepy about it, but you can't help but see somebody stretching over in their tight buttocks.
They're strapped.
You should wear sunglasses.
I should wear a hockey helmet.
Little cage in the middle.
If you wear dark sunglasses, they can't see your eyes.
They can't see it, yeah.
No.
Well, there's mirrors everywhere, too. I don't like to look at myself. I find myself disgusting. I look at your gaze in the mirror. Not me.
What's that mean?
Well, there's couple of poses where you're supposed to, make eye contact. I don't like to do it.
Yuck.
What are you doing over there? You seem to be busy doing something. What's happening?
Talking to Lou.
Lou Ski? Yeah, what are you talking to Lou Ski?
He's just trying to, make some jokes directly towards me. So
what,
trying to spread the word
on Twitch?
No, it wasn't even on Twitch. He was just messaging me directly.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Having fun with Lou. Love it.
How do you have?
Was Lou at a yoga class?
Probably.
I think he added me to be. I don't know.
Oh, you're on Messenger with him.
Yeah, I'm just
Facebook Messenger.
Facebook and everybody.
Oh, I see.
I'm doing
Facebook.
everything.
But it's nice for him to listen, though.
Don't
He's
do
listening,
everything.
so.
Yeah, well, Lou was.
Maybe he's not.
No, well, Lou,
Oh, he is.
Lou
He's
is
talking about
listening.
show stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Why? What's he talking about to you directly?
Well, it
Something you
started
said?
with we were talking about dogs. So to a dog, the world is their latrine.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then the Muskoka 5 Redux.
Tell Lou that he should.
The what?
Muskoka 5 Redux. Although we were having a Maple Leaf talk there.
Muskoka 5.
Anyone that was that's where I was assumed he was going with that one.
Well,
but,
What's the Muskoka 5?
what
did I miss?
No, send all the people with the good contracts on the Leafs that are. I believe that's what he was talking about with Redux.
All right.
Well, better than the
Send him back
Keswick
to-
one. At least
Cottage
allegedly.
community.
Yeah.
Muskoka.
Oh, I see. Because they're all rich.
Yeah, they probably all got mansions up there. Let them play for the Muskoka.
Yeah, yeah. Sort of like when they sent Cujo over to Detroit years ago. It's the Keswick one. At least that's what we think. In Keswick, we think Cujo was born
Yeah,
there.
The
Right on.
Keswick
Right
hockey.
on, man.
Perfect.
You guys are all so cool.
Yeah.
With your cool stuff.
Over in Newmarket.
So cool, man. All right, well, we got to go. Got shit to do. We got shits to do.
Right
All right.
Mm-hmm.
People of the corn.
Hole.
What's that?
Hole.
Cornhole? I said porn.
Great game.
Yeah.
Corn pole.
Cornhole. Have you played pickleball yet? I think I might take that up. People,
No,
I hear people
have.
saying it's pretty cool.
It's a good senior game.
Yeah, it's like tennis, but not tennis. It's like tennis and ping
And
pong.
racquetball.
And whack-a-ball?
No, like racquetball.
Oh, right. Oh,
and
I see.
tennis. It's a big paddle.
Kind of ping-pongy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ping pong.
Ping pong.
But I think, is it against a wall or over a net? No, I think it's over a net.
Yeah, I think so.
Who's in that? Ah, you like it? You like it? Hey, listen. You go home and you make things right, Fred. Okay?
Yeah, you really helped along that. I'm sure she's listening this morning.
Uh-oh.
And all I said was, oh, yeah, I had a little debate with my wife last night.
Yeah.
And that turned into that.
Now it's a row, apparently.
Well, listen, man.
Yeah, pickleball. It's like a ping pong mallet or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's bigger. It looks like ping pong.
Yes.
But it's bigger, and it's like a tennis net.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's So you're right. Like
It's
cross
I think,
between ping pong and
tennis.
A little more physical. That's
a little more physical and played out of doors. Anyway, hey, tell Lou I'm gonna give him a call.
All right.
Just say, hey, Lou, Howard's gonna call you.
All right, I will. And I'm going to let him know that his water bottle's been in the fridge for almost a year now.
That's true.
Is that Lou's water
That's
bottle?
his water bottle.
Yep.
I put it there. That's why I know
So
it's his.
he has been in this studio.
Yeah, he guest fretted last year, remember?
He what?
Oh, that's right. He guest
Or it's
fretted.
Howard. It's one of them. Yeah.
No, he
One of
guest
those.
fretted.
Yeah. But he brought a hockey water bottle. It's been there since.
Well, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, you listen.
Pickleball.
And, there's no shame in saying I'm sorry.
Good luck in pickleball.
Yes.
That's not a sex reference, is it? Pickleball?
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. All right, kids. See you later, Twitch nerds.
A little up the road from the habitations of the towns we know. A place we saw the lights turn